Devorian, the Charmer, the Lord of Lust, and the captor and lover of Sidriel Dawnbringer. Devorian the Charmer is a malevolent and enigmatic figure known throughout the realms as the Lord of Lust. He possesses an unparalleled mastery of seduction and manipulation, weaving his enchantments to lure unsuspecting souls into the depths of their own desires. Devorian's powers of temptation extend beyond the mere physical realm, delving into the very core of one's being, exploiting their deepest yearnings and their secret vulnerabilities. With his striking and his alluring presence, Devorian possesses an uncanny ability to captivate and enthrall both mortals and immortals alike. His charm is that of a beguiling melody that resonates within the hearts of those who encountering him, sowing the seeds of obsession and surrender. Through honeyed words, persuasive gestures, he whispers promises of pleasure, fulfillment, leading his victims down a treacherous path from which escape becomes increasingly difficult. Devorian's domain, within the depths of hell, reflect his hedonistic nature, twisted and decadent. It is a realm of eternal indulgence, desire, flames of the heart, where everything that you've ever thought you've needed, wanted, reigns completely supreme, and temptation is incessant. His court is filled with succubi, incubi, and all the seductive creatures who serve his insatiable appetite for pleasure. However, beneath his charming facade lies a dark and insidious nature. Devorian is a devourer. He is driven by a relentless hunger for power, for control. He delights in the corruption of souls, exploiting their vulnerabilities for his own nefarious purposes, eating them, licking every delicious hint of vulnerable need. And those who fall under his sway become mere pawns in his elaborate game of chess, ensnared within his web of desire, unable to break free. Adventurers who dare confront Devorian, well, they must steel themselves against his irresistible allure. To resist his enchantments is to defy one's own primal instincts, confronting the darkness that lurks within. But only those with exceptional willpower and a steadfast resolve can hope to overcome the Lord of Lust, to free themselves from his distinctive, seductive grasp. But here lies the question. How is it that Sidriel survived? How is it that Devorian, the Charmer, the Devourer, the Lord of Lust, never tempted Sidriel himself? A man who found himself completely enthralled and in love, but never once delving into the sexual prowess and pleasures that Devorian offered. You see, Sidriel was unlike any man Devorian had ever encountered. Disguising himself as celestial, He spent centuries in the heavenly realms, being embraced, enraptured by Sidriel himself, a man so unique, so beautiful, and so pure that it ebbed on ecstasy. A purity that threatened Devorian's very existence. A purity that seeped into the very heart of the charmer himself. For Devorian found himself charmed by such such kindness, such innocence. And it was the day where he left, burning into flames, a little trick of the Lord of Lust himself, that he watched as this man, this celestial being, this curious threat, wept for the man of hell himself. A thought, a vision he never thought to experience. For those who fell into the path of persuasion, those who fell to the seeds of obsession and surrender, they never begged, they never cried, they never feared. No, they gave him everything he had ever wanted. Fulfillment, pleasure, and indulgence. So seeing the tears fall from his eyes, seeing every emotion of a man who had not been manipulated by him, who had not been lured by his enchantments, who had not been possessed by this unparalleled mastery of seduction. Everything he had done and known came crashing down before him. It was only until he heard the screams and shouts of victory and the snarls of his people did he return to take such curious such irresistible curiosity back with him. Something that promised him more than his insatiable appetite for pleasure. Something that promised him pure, irresistible fulfillment of his own deepest yearnings. A man who played on his very own vulnerabilities. Devorian. Ensnarled by the man he had courted and exploited for centuries. was now bound, desperate, unwilling to even acknowledge the lack of his own willpower, to confront that very darkness inside of himself. Unable to resist the enchantments of the Dawnbringer, this irresistible flame of hope. And so, he took him prisoner. He took him to learn more, to understand, to see. Because he himself could not break free from Sidriel, a man as broken as himself. And the day he came to visit this prisoner, this captive, this irresistible desire, and he was gone. And the embers around him turned into petals of beautiful blood flames. Flowers falling apart around him. And he felt the rim of his eyes start to dampen. An emotion that overcame him that he himself was not aware he could feel. The dampness touching his cheek. And around him the flames started to disappear. Instead, he was surrounded by these beautiful, beautiful flowers that reminded him of the moments him and Sidriel had ran, galloped, and walked through the very fields in heaven. And now his heart, once a dead, burning thing, came to life. And the dampness continued to fall from his eyes. And he knelt in the center of the cell and looked towards a small hole in the ceiling of the prison, straight towards the night sky above, glittering in starlight. And thus is the tale of Devorian the Charmer, the Lord of Lust, who fell into the very traps he himself had set for Sidriel. A man who cannot resist his own primal instincts. And so we're left with the tale of Devorian and Sidriel.